Welcome back. I'm Mike Hendrickson. I'm here with Jason Grigsby, co-founder of Cloud4. Jason, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you finding OSCON so far?
It's great. It's awesome. I live here in Portland. It's great to have everybody here. Great to see the energy, and we've got a great city. So I like the fact that everybody comes here once a year.
Yes, excellent. So your company is called Cloud4, and we were just having this discussion about a little bit of confusion on Cloud4. Is it a cloud service or what?
No. We focus on mobile web, hybrid applications. We picked cloud because if people have visited Portland other than OSCON when it's always sunny, it rains here on occasion. And so we wanted something that was local, and we thought of clouds, and then later we realized that was going to cause confusion for everybody. But the business cards and the domain were purchased, so we're stuck with it.
So you're a mobile consulting company.
Yeah.
So mobile versus mobile web, where do you see the distinction there?
That's an interesting question. For us, what it means is that we were interested in being able to support a variety of different devices and trying to be able to make sure that we could reach as large an audience as possible. And also our roots are in the web, and so we're very interested in making sure that web technology continues to be something that people can use to communicate. Mobile is very interesting to us in the ways in which it's changing the world in Africa, in developing countries. And when you're talking about those, you're not talking about, say, native applications or things of that nature. So for us, web is very natural in that regard. So we focus on how we can use web technology to deliver great experiences, whether it's via app stores or whether it's in the browser.
Okay, so native apps.
Yes.
Are mobile technologies, right?
Right.
And how do those how are they different from something like a Google Chrome app?
Well, Google Chrome's the browser.
Right.
It is written in, I believe, C or C+, I'm not sure. And when we're talking about stuff that we're building using web technology, HTML, JavaScript, CSS. So, at a technical level, that's the difference. Generally, when people talk about native apps versus web apps, they're talking about building stuff using whatever the native language is for that platform, whether it's Java on, say, BlackBerry or Objective-C on iOS, versus building stuff using web technology and the advantages or disadvantages of each approach.
So the stack is different. And
yeah.
So is there an open source mobile stack? Some people say Android is an open source mobile stack. I'm not quite sure it's fully open or what, but is there an open source mobile stack?
That's actually a tough question. Vision Mobile actually had a great post. Vision Mobile is, I think, European-based. They're an analyst company, and they've been doing mobile analysts for quite some time, and basically went into all of the ways in which they think that Android isn't open. Android is, more open than others, and I think that MeeGo is far more open than Android is. Or at least that's the impression I have. We primarily work in terms of web technologies, so from our perspective, it's really about making sure that the browser has as much capabilities as possible, and as long as that continues, whatever the underlying platform is, whether it's proprietary or not proprietary, because all of these things are running on top of carriers, which are closed anyways, so to some degree, if you're worried about openness, the only place where you have complete control is web-based technology.
Okay, so if you're writing an open source web app that's going to run on a mobile device, does it run on an iPhone too?
Yeah, sure.
So there's no problem. You can build mobile apps on the web and run them on. But can you sell them in the App Store? Or?
Yeah. So there's one of the technologies that's been at OSCON a couple times is PhoneGap, which is a native wrapper around web technology. So you can build stuff with the web core and then distribute it via the various app stores. And you make trade-offs whenever you do that, but you can if you do a really good job at it. And this is the stuff we focus on, is making sure that we do as good a job as possible, so that when people are using it on the various platforms, that they can't it feels like an app, like any other app that they would purchase from the App Store. But the other thing that we spend a lot of time talking to customers about is if they're doing any sort of email communication, social networking, these sorts of things, that they're going to end up with people going to their website, and their website itself should be mobile optimized. And so that problem set alone, being able to build stuff that works across the variety of devices, whether it's phones, tablets, Google TV, desktop computers, that problem set is interesting in its own accord, and so we spend a lot of time there.
So recently, there's been some kerfuffle with gamification. How do you feel about gamification? And I talked to you about this a couple of years ago, and we had our little debate.
I was actually talking to Sarah Wing yesterday about the fact that you were obsessed with gamification, and she doesn't get it. I didn't get it at all the first time we had this conversation. I now see that there are benefits to it, and I think that particularly, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but there was a video that I think you had pointed me to that he had been talking about sort of the theories and the practice of games.
That was Seth from Scavenger.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And that there's, in the same way in which, if you're pursuing anything professionally, there's sort of an academic bent to what you're doing if you're really good at it and you spend a lot of time thinking about the theory behind it. There's a lot of theory behind what's going on in this space. And people are adopting sort of game-like metrics in other areas, or game-like mechanics in other areas, without necessarily having the theory, and that actually understanding the theory would make the in-dash systems in cars that provide feedback on whether or not you're driving them well better. And that, I think, is really interesting. I don't know that it's as big a deal as perhaps you want it to be.
Yeah. Well, I was curious because with mobile, it seems like it's a natural to fit with devices you're carrying with you at all times.
Right. So there is games. Obviously, are the top selling. I think they're still the top selling platform. They're definitely the top selling. I think books at one point exceeded them in terms of the total apps in the iPhone App Store, but still games outsell them. But it isn't as interesting to me as being able, like the idea of people having information in their hands wherever they are in the world, and that's just me. I mean, a lot of other people have interest in that side of things. The place where the gamification stuff actually does make a difference is regarding mobile health, the ability to use these mobile devices,
quantified self,
and providing feedback to people that helps them change their behavior in ways that make them healthier.
So 2 last questions for you. One, if you had a magic wand and you could make anything change in the mobile industry, what would you have change?
I would change companies that are developing mobile browsers and desktop browsers and put their emphasis on building the mobile versions of their browsers first, so that their focus was on pushing access to device capabilities, access to cameras, access to accelerometers. All of those things were the things that they were working on first, and that they were thinking about desktop second, because the desktop browser mentality limits the ability of mobile browsers to do what they should.
So mobile first.
Yes, mobile first browsers.
And specifically probably Google.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
My big, I've been frustrated because Google has promised a lot of stuff in Android's browser and at Google I/O in 2010, and they haven't delivered those items. And the rumors are, and if you watch Google I/O this year, you saw a conflict between the Android team and the Google Chrome team, and it seems like that internal conflict is preventing Android's browser from being as good as it could be.
Yes. Okay. So is the Apple browser experience better?
Yeah.
Safari is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody rips on Apple, saying that Apple is attempting to protect its App Store by holding down the browser, and the reality is that Apple pushes the browser much more than the other platforms are.
Have you had a chance to explore Microsoft's offering in Windows Phone 7? Or?
Yeah, Windows Phone 7 with the Mango update will be much better, but Mango will bring them up to IE9, and IE9 was released earlier this year for desktop. So again, their desktop version is lagging, or their mobile version is lagging their desktop version. And what has happened multiple times over the few years that iOS has been out has been that iOS has received browser improvements that are not yet available for the desktop.
So their mobile strategy is driving their desktop strategy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is probably the way to go.
I would hope so.
Yes. Last question. I hear you're working on a book.
That is true, yeah. My co-founder, Liza Gardner, and I are writing Head First Mobile Web, which our goal is to basically provide a book that somebody who's a web developer will be able to pick up and learn basically all of the different directions that somebody could take to implement mobile web technology. So we want to go at it not with like one approach, whether it's responsive web design or doing device detection, but essentially address all of those in a way that educates them so that then they can go be successful.
Time frame?
That's a great question.
Yeah. the always question, yeah.
So the original time frame was for release sometime this year.
Good.
I don't know. I hope that that's true.
Yeah. You know,
when people ask me that, I feel like I shouldn't be doing whatever it is that I'm doing right at the moment, and I should be working on the book.
Well, one of the things that you can have comfort with O'Reilly is that we'll publish the best book, not just on a schedule. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Thank you, Jason.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Great talking with you.